Ghost him completely. Watch what happens next. When someone shows you that they're not prioritizing you, that they're inconsistent with their communication, or that they're only present when it's convenient for them, you don't owe them closure, warning, or a dramatic monologue. You owe yourself peace. Your silence is your standard. Too many people stay engaged in a dead conversation, hoping their presence will somehow teach someone to value them. But the truth is, you don't teach people how to value you by chasing them. You teach them by disappearing when they stop showing up. When you ghost someone who's already ghosting you in micro ways, delayed replies, no follow through, emotional unavailability, you're not playing games. You're just exiting the game, and that is powerful. Here's what usually happens next. He notices. Oh, trust me, he notices. Because energy doesn't lie. The minute your energy is no longer available, the dynamic shifts. He starts to feel your absence instead of taking your presence for granted. And then you find out something even more important. Was he ever really in, or was he just enjoying access to you? Disappearing doesn't guarantee he'll come running back, but it guarantees something better. You reclaim your self-respect. You stop negotiating your worth with someone who was never really listening, and the best part, you create space for someone who doesn't need silence to understand your value. Someone who doesn't need a wake-up call to treat you right. So don't be afraid to ghost the one who's already fading. Don't be afraid to go quiet in a world that feeds off your constant availability. Because when you disappear from the wrong person's life, you start to reappear in your own. Ghosting someone who's been inconsistent in your life isn't about being cold, manipulative, or trying to play a psychological game. It's about recognizing that your energy, time, and emotional investment are valuable, and you don't owe them to someone who's treating them like they're disposable. There's a huge difference between silence used as a weapon and silence used as a boundary. What we're talking about here is the latter. When someone is constantly dipping in and out of your life, replying when it suits them, showing up with charm only when it benefits them, they're already ghosting you in 1,000 little ways. They're not fully present, they're not consistent, they're not choosing you clearly, and when that becomes a pattern, staying engaged, continuing to respond, explain, wait, hope, isn't strength. It's self-betrayal. Choosing silence in that moment is not about trying to make them feel what you felt. It's not about withholding love as punishment. It's about choosing to stop pouring yourself into a container that doesn't hold you. You are not abandoning them. You're simply no longer abandoning yourself. That shift is everything. When you go silent, when you stop responding, when you stop explaining, you're not trying to make a point. You're living your point. You're saying, if you can't meet me with the energy I bring, you don't get to keep access to me. There's so much noise in modern dating. We're told to communicate everything, to always leave the door open, to be endlessly understanding. But at what cost? Communication is powerful when it's mutual. Understanding is beautiful when it's reciprocated. But when you're the only one trying to make it work, what you're doing isn't communication, it's convincing. And that's where the line has to be drawn. When you ghost someone who has shown you they're inconsistent or unavailable, you're not being cruel. You're being clear. You're refusing to participate in a dynamic that makes you question your worth. And more importantly, you're stepping back into your own power. Silence is a reset. It says, I'm no longer available to be half loved. People sometimes fear that silence will make them look weak or bitter, but in reality, silence is one of the strongest things you can offer. It says more than words ever could. It doesn't beg, it doesn't argue, and it doesn't chase. It simply removes the energy that was being taken for granted. And when that happens, the dynamic shifts. You begin to attract from a different place. You begin to realize that the attention you were trying so hard to hold on to wasn't really nourishing you. It was distracting you. Choosing silence is not avoidance, it's discernment. It's the act of knowing when to walk away from a situation that's no longer aligned with the version of you who knows her value. And once you operate from that place, everything, your peace, your clarity, your self-respect starts to grow again. There's a common trap people fall into in relationships, especially in situations where they feel emotionally invested but aren't getting the same energy back. They start chasing. They start proving. They start believing that if they can just say the right thing, show the right side of themselves, or give enough time and affection, then the other person will finally see their worth. But the truth is, the right person doesn't need to be convinced. The right person recognizes value early, not after you've drained yourself to prove it. Chasing doesn't build connection, it builds imbalance. It puts you in a position where your emotional labor outweighs theirs, and once that scale tips, it's incredibly hard to get it back to level. When someone gives you inconsistent energy, the natural response for many is to try harder. Maybe it's because deep down, you believe their inconsistency is a reflection of something you're doing wrong. Maybe you think if you could just be more patient, more understanding, more available, they would start showing up for you. But that mindset is dangerous because it puts the responsibility for their lack of effort on your shoulders. It turns their disinterest into your problem to fix. That's not love, and it's certainly not respect. You should never feel like you have to earn someone's basic effort. You shouldn't have to teach someone to value your presence by making yourself constantly available. Your presence should be met with clarity, enthusiasm, and consistency. If it isn't, that's your answer. The problem isn't that you're not doing enough. The problem is you're showing up fully for someone who only shows up halfway. And when you do that, you end up shrinking. You start editing yourself second, guessing your worth, and adjusting your behavior to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Being present in someone's life should be a natural exchange. It should flow. It should feel mutual. But if you find yourself walking on eggshells, wondering when they'll call, overthinking every message, or waiting for them to reciprocate the energy you're giving, you're not in a relationship. You're in a one-sided emotional investment that's exhausting, and it chips away at your confidence over time. Here's the truth. The people who are meant for you won't need constant reminders of your value. They'll see it. They'll feel it, they'll show up for it, and more importantly, they'll want to protect it, not exploit it. So the moment you find yourself trying to earn your place in someone's life by overgiving or over-explaining, that's the moment to step back. That's when you realize you've started to bargain with your own self-worth. You don't have to chase love. You don't have to chase respect. The only thing you need to do is stand in your truth, value your time, and align yourself with those who see you clearly without you having to hold up a sign. Let your presence be a gift, not a negotiation. When it's right, your presence won't feel like a performance. It will feel like home. There's a powerful shift that happens when you pull your energy away from someone who has been taking it for granted. Often we're so focused on holding on to someone responding to every message, keeping the connection alive, trying to keep their interest, that we don't give ourselves a chance to see what would happen if we simply stopped, if we let silence speak, and that's when something revealing happens. Your absence begins to do what your presence couldn't. It starts to bring clarity, not just for them, but for you. People can get comfortable with your constant availability. They know you'll reply, they know you'll show up, they know you're invested, and sometimes they start to take that energy as a given. It becomes background noise, something they assume will always be there no matter how little they give in return. But the second that presence is gone, the second you go quiet, they feel it, and not because they necessarily miss you in a meaningful way, but because energy has weight. When someone has been used to receiving your attention, your care, and your presence, they feel the gap when it disappears. That's where the truth begins to emerge. Because when your energy is no longer easily accessible, you give the other person the space to reveal their real intentions. If they reach out, it tells you something. If they don't, it tells you even more. Sometimes, the uncomfortable truth is that someone wasn't emotionally invested in you. They were just enjoying what you gave them. And when the giving stops, their interest fades. That realization can hurt, but it's a necessary hurt. It's the kind of pain that saves you from months or even years of trying to get something real out of someone who was only ever there for convenience. When you stop chasing, when you remove your presence from the equation, you create a vacuum. And that vacuum either pulls them back with genuine intent, or it stays empty because they were never really invested to begin with. Both outcomes are valuable. One leads to reconnection with clarity. The other leads to release with truth. You have to be brave enough to step away to find out where you truly stand, because when you're constantly in someone's life, they don't have to think about what your absence feels like. They don't have to reflect, they don't have to choose. But when you ghost them, especially after repeated signs of inconsistency, you force them into a space where they must make a decision, either step up or let go. And the beautiful part, you're not waiting for the answer from a place of desperation. You're observing it from a place of power. Because stepping back isn't passive, it's intentional. It's a declaration that you will no longer tolerate half, love, or unclear behavior. Your absence becomes a mirror. It shows them who they are in the space where you used to be. And more importantly, it shows you who they really are when you're no longer there to carry the connection. When you decide to ghost someone who's been giving you mixed signals, breadcrumbing you with inconsistent attention, or treating you like an option instead of a priority, you're not trying to get revenge, you're not being cruel, spiteful, or immature. What you're doing is realigning with your worth. You're making a quiet but powerful decision to remove yourself from a situation that is no longer serving your emotional well-being. And that decision isn't about them, it's about you reclaiming your power. So often, people confuse ghosting with playing games. But there's a critical difference. Games are about manipulation, realignment is about boundaries. When you choose to walk away without explanation after giving someone enough chances, after being patient and understanding, you're not avoiding a difficult conversation. You're accepting the truth that no conversation is needed. Their behavior already said it all. At some point, words become unnecessary. You realize there's nothing left to clarify because the message was delivered loud and clear through their actions. When someone constantly gives you less than what you deserve, when they show up inconsistently, disappear for days, or only reach out when it's convenient for them, they've already disengaged from the connection. They're already ghosting you in a slow, subtle way. So when you go silent, you're not the one who started the distance. You're simply matching the energy that's already there. You're not punishing them. You're protecting yourself. It takes strength to disengage, especially when you still care. Especially when your instinct is to explain, fix, or give them one more chance. But walking away without fanfare is sometimes the most self-respecting thing you can do. It means you've stopped fighting to be seen by someone who clearly isn't looking. You've stopped auditioning for a role you were already playing beautifully, just for someone who never bothered to watch. Choosing to ghost after enduring inconsistency is choosing to stop negotiating your value. It's refusing to settle for confusion when what you want is clarity. It's saying, if this person can't show up for me, then I'm done showing up for them. That's not weakness. That's emotional maturity. That's having the wisdom to know when to stop trying and the courage to walk away without needing a round of applause. Some people need you to keep engaging so they can keep stringing you along. They feed off your availability. Your ghosting breaks that cycle. It disrupts the pattern. It stops the emotional loop that they've kept you in. And it gives you the space to heal, reset, and come back to yourself. You don't owe closure to someone who was never really open. You don't owe explanations to someone who repeatedly ignored the message your consistency sent. What you owe is loyalty to your peace, to your growth, and to the version of you that no longer settles for less than full-hearted effort. Going silent is not a tactic to get them back. It's a commitment to not losing yourself any further in someone who never truly saw you. When you finally let go of someone who wasn't showing up for you, emotionally, mentally, or physically, you open up space in your life that was previously occupied by stress, overthinking, and confusion. That space at first might feel like emptiness. You might feel the urge to reach out, to explain yourself, or to go back just for the comfort of familiarity. But if you resist that urge, if you sit with the discomfort and allow yourself to fully disconnect, something beautiful begins to happen. You start attracting a different kind of energy. People often hold on to the wrong relationships because they fear the gap that's left behind when that person is no longer there. But what they don't realize is that the space that person took up was blocking what they actually wanted. You can't receive someone who truly values and sees you if you're still entertaining someone who only shows up halfway. When you ghost someone who isn't giving you what you deserve, you're not just cutting them off, you're clearing the path for better. For real, for consistent, for mutual. Letting go doesn't guarantee someone better will walk in the next day or even the next month. But it creates the possibility, because as long as you're energetically tied to someone who keeps you in limbo, you're unavailable, even if you're technically single. Emotionally, you're still engaged with someone who doesn't choose you fully. That sends a message to the universe, to your own heart, and to potential partners. I'm not quite ready yet. But when you make the decision to ghost the one who's already shown they can't love you the way you deserve to be loved, you reclaim your availability, not just logistically, but emotionally and mentally. You begin to operate from a place of self-worth instead of scarcity. You stop saying, "I hope they come around," and start saying, "I deserve someone who doesn't need convincing." It's easy to fear that if you let go, you'll end up alone. But the deeper fear should be this: staying stuck in something that's wasting your time and costing you your peace. When you ghost the wrong person, you stop investing in what's draining you and start investing in your own healing, confidence, and clarity. And from that place you attract differently. You stop settling. You spot red flags earlier. You gravitate toward people who give you a calm energy, not chaotic highs and lows. Someone who truly sees you won't need silence to realize your value. They won't need you to walk away before they decide to act right. They'll show up without you having to fight for it. But to meet that person, you have to be brave enough to leave space for them. You have to stop filling your heart with temporary placeholders who were only ever meant to be lessons, not lifetimes. So, when you ghost him completely, you're not just walking away from someone. You're walking towards something better. Something real, something that doesn't need to be chased, explained, or forced. Thank you